I sat across from a patient this week and listened to her describe something that happens to her almost every single day, and the more she talked, the more I realized she was describing the exact same thing that dozens of my patients over 60 have told me this year alone. Word for word. Detail for detail. The same slow erosion of memory, the same creeping fog, the same quiet terror that something is going very wrong inside their head. When I asked her what she eats on a typical day, she listed something that appeared in almost every meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The same category of food, over and over, cooked different ways, but doing the same damage every single time. She had no idea. None of them do. This is a food that sits in every refrigerator, that shows up at every family gathering, that most people over 60 eat without a second thought because it is fast, it is easy, it is familiar, and nobody has ever told them to stop. She did not want to appear on camera, but she recorded this for you because she said if I had known sooner, I could have saved myself years of fear. Listen to her.
I do not even know where to start. I guess the scariest part is that I used to be sharp. I was the person everyone came to when they needed to remember a phone number or a date or the name of that restaurant we went to 3 years ago. That was me. Now I cannot remember what I watched on television last night. I make a grocery list and forget to bring it. I leave the stove on and do not realize it until I smell something burning. 2 weeks ago, I was telling my neighbor a story, and halfway through, I completely forgot the point. I just stopped talking. She looked at me and I looked at her, and I had nothing. The thought was gone. I am 65 years old and I eat well. I have deli meat in my sandwich almost every day. I have bacon with my eggs on weekends. I buy those pre-packaged sausages because they are quick and easy for dinner. I thought I was feeding myself properly. I thought protein was protein. Nobody ever told me that what I was eating could be doing this to my brain.
Nobody ever told me. I hear that sentence so often that it has become the reason I make these videos. When she said protein is protein, I knew she was speaking for millions of people over 60 who believe the exact same thing. They are wrong, and the difference between the protein they think they are eating and what they are actually putting into their body is quietly destroying their gut and stealing their memory one meal at a time. My name is Dr. Margaret Whitmore. For 32 years, I have specialized in brain health and healthy aging for people over 60, with a deep focus on the connection between the gut and the brain. I started this channel because I watched too many good people deteriorate in silence, eating foods they trusted, following advice they believed, while the real culprit sat on their plate 3 times a day and nobody said a word. What my patient just described is heartbreakingly common. I hear it every single week. People over 60 who eat what they think is a solid, protein-rich diet and cannot understand why their memory is failing, why the fog is getting thicker, why their brain feels slower with each passing month. In so many of those cases, the answer is sitting right there in the deli section of their grocery store. Today, I am going to tell you exactly which food I am talking about, what it does inside your gut, how that damage reaches your brain, and what to eat instead. I want to build this carefully, because what I am about to say is going to challenge a food that most people over 60 eat every single day without a moment of hesitation. Think about your week. Think about how many meals included some form of meat that came from a package, a deli counter, or a pre-cooked section. Think about the ham in your sandwich, the turkey slices from the plastic container, the bacon you fried this weekend, the hot dogs at the family barbecue, the sausages you heated up for a quick dinner, the salami on your crackers. Think about how often these foods show up in your life. Now think about your memory over the past year or two. Think about whether it has been getting gradually worse. I am asking you to hold those 2 facts in your mind as you listen to what comes next. I am talking about processed meats, deli ham, deli turkey, salami, pepperoni, bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and any meat that has been cured, smoked, preserved, or pre-packaged with added chemicals to extend its shelf life. These are not the same as a fresh piece of chicken you cook at home or a simple cut of fish from the market. These are industrially altered products that contain a cocktail of chemical compounds your gut was never designed to encounter, and after 60, those compounds are doing damage that reaches far beyond your stomach. I want to be clear about something before we go further. If processed meat is a regular part of your meals, you are not a bad person. You are not careless. You are not doing anything unusual. You are eating exactly what is available, affordable, convenient, and culturally normal. Deli meat is the backbone of the American sandwich. Bacon is the centerpiece of breakfast. Sausages are a quick dinner that everyone knows how to prepare. There is no shame here. There is only information that nobody bothered to share with you until now, and that information could change the way your brain feels within weeks. Here's what makes processed meat so uniquely destructive to your gut, and this is the part that most people have never heard. When meat is processed, manufacturers add a range of chemical preservatives to keep it looking fresh, tasting consistent, and lasting for weeks or months on a shelf or in a refrigerator. The most common of these are compounds called nitrates and nitrites, along with high concentrations of sodium, artificial smoke flavoring, colorings, and various stabilizers. These are not natural components of meat. They are industrial additives, and when they arrive in your gut, they behave like uninvited guests who immediately start destroying the house. The nitrates and nitrites in processed meat are particularly hostile to the beneficial organisms living inside your gut. These organisms are the ones that produce the chemical messengers your brain depends on for clear thinking, reliable memory, stable mood, and mental sharpness. When nitrates and nitrites enter the gut repeatedly, meal after meal, day after day, they create an environment that is toxic to these beneficial organisms. Think of it like pouring a small amount of bleach into an aquarium every day. The fish do not die immediately. They swim a little slower. They eat a little less. Their colors fade. Over weeks and months, the population dwindles. The water that was once full of life becomes sparse and lifeless. That is what processed meat does to the living community inside your gut. Each serving adds another small dose of chemical stress that pushes the beneficial organisms closer to collapse while allowing the harmful, chemical-resistant organisms to expand and take over. I want to pause here because I think this is a moment that deserves honesty. How many times this week did you eat some form of processed meat? Be honest with yourself. The sandwich at lunch. The bacon at breakfast. The quick sausage dinner. If the answer is 3 or more, I want you to leave a comment below this video. You can simply write, "I eat processed meat almost every day and I never connected it to my brain." That is all. Because right now, another person watching this video is counting the same meals and feeling a jolt of recognition for the first time. Your comment could be the thing that makes them pay attention. Please share if you are willing. Now let me show you the second way processed meat attacks your gut, because the damage from the preservatives is only part of the story. The extremely high sodium content in processed meats draws water out of the cells that line your gut barrier. This is the thin, delicate wall that separates your digestive system from your bloodstream. When these cells lose water, they shrink slightly, and the tight connections between them loosen. Gaps appear. This process is made even worse after 60, when the gut lining is already thinner and more vulnerable than it was in younger years. Every serving of processed meat with its heavy sodium load pulls a little more water out of those cells, loosens the connections a little further, and widens the gaps a little more. Harmful particles that should stay contained inside the gut begin leaking through into the bloodstream. Your body detects these invaders and responds with that silent, invisible inflammation that I talk about so often on this channel. It travels through your system without any outward sign and settles into the brain, where it creates the fog, the forgetfulness, the slow, heavy feeling that so many people over 60 describe to me. Imagine a brick wall where the mortar between the bricks is slowly being dissolved by water dripping on it every day. The bricks themselves are still there. The wall still stands. It still looks solid from a distance. The mortar is what is failing, and without it, the whole structure becomes unstable. That mortar is the connection between the cells of your gut lining, and the sodium in processed meat is the water that is dissolving it, one meal at a time. There is a third dimension to this damage that I find deeply concerning. When certain compounds in processed meat interact with the organisms already present in a compromised gut, they can produce byproducts that are directly inflammatory to brain tissue. These byproducts do not just cause general inflammation. They target the areas of the brain responsible for forming new memories and retrieving stored ones. Many of my patients who eat processed meat daily describe a very specific pattern. They can remember things from 20 or 30 years ago with perfect clarity, but they cannot recall what someone told them yesterday. That pattern, where old memories remain intact while new memories fail to form, is exactly what happens when inflammation settles into the memory processing areas of the brain. It is not random forgetfulness. It is targeted damage, and the source is sitting in the deli drawer of their refrigerator. I want you to hear from another patient of mine now. She also preferred to share through audio only, but she wanted others to hear her experience.
The day that really broke me was about 2 months ago. My daughter called and asked if I was coming to her son's school play that evening. I said, of course, I would not miss it. She said, great, because you missed the last one, and he was really upset. I went completely cold. I had no memory of missing a school play. None. I asked her when it was, and she said 3 weeks ago. She said she had called me twice to remind me, and I said I would be there both times. I never showed up. I do not remember the phone calls. I do not remember saying I would go. I do not remember the evening at all. It is just a blank space where a memory should be. My grandson asked me afterward why I did not come, and I lied and said I was not feeling well. I could not tell him the truth. I could not tell a 9-year-old that his grandmother is losing her mind. That night, I sat in the kitchen eating a sandwich with the same deli turkey I eat every day, and I just cried.
She sat eating the very food that was contributing to the problem while crying about the consequences of that problem. That image stays with me. When I reviewed her eating habits, processed meat appeared in almost every meal. Deli turkey or ham in her sandwich at lunch. Bacon or sausage at breakfast several mornings a week. Pre-packaged meatballs or hot dogs for quick dinners. Her gut had been receiving a steady stream of nitrates, sodium, and preservatives for years, and her ability to form and retain new memories had been deteriorating in lockstep. Now I want to talk about the solution, because this is where everything turns around, and I want to be as detailed and practical as possible. The change I am recommending is not about eliminating meat from your diet. It is not about becoming vegetarian or giving up protein. It is about replacing the processed versions with real, whole, unprocessed meat that your gut can actually handle without being damaged in the process. Let me be very specific. For lunch, instead of a sandwich made with deli turkey or ham from a plastic package, try using leftover chicken that you roasted or baked at home. Cook a few chicken breasts on a Sunday evening, slice them up, and keep them in the refrigerator. You now have 5 days' worth of sandwich meat that contains 0 nitrates, 0 artificial preservatives, and a fraction of the sodium. The chicken tastes better, fills you up more, and your gut processes it without any of the chemical assault that comes with deli meat. If you do not eat chicken, canned tuna or salmon packed in water is another excellent option that is quick, affordable, and free of the preservatives found in processed meats. For breakfast, instead of bacon or sausage, try eggs. 2 eggs cooked any way you enjoy them deliver more protein than 2 strips of bacon, with none of the nitrates, none of the excess sodium, and none of the chemical preservatives. If you love the savory, hearty feeling of a big breakfast, pair those eggs with half an avocado and a slice of real whole grain bread. You will feel more satisfied and more mentally clear than bacon ever made you feel. For dinner, instead of pre-packaged sausages or hot dogs, try a simple piece of baked fish, a grilled chicken thigh, or even a basic ground turkey patty made at home with nothing but the meat and a pinch of salt. These are not exotic meals. These are not expensive meals. They are simple, real food that your gut can process the way it was designed to. Let me walk you through what happens inside your body when you make this transition. During the first week, without the daily influx of nitrates, sodium, and preservatives from processed meat, the chemical pressure on your beneficial gut organisms begins to lift. Think of the aquarium analogy again. You have stopped adding bleach. The water is still cloudy, the damage is still present, but the fish that survived are no longer under active assault. They start to stabilize. They start to eat again. During the second week, the beneficial organisms begin to recover and multiply. The chemical messengers they produce for your brain start flowing with more consistency. Your gut lining, no longer being dehydrated by excessive sodium at every meal, begins to repair its connections. The cells rehydrate. The gaps between them start to tighten. Fewer harmful particles leak through. Less inflammation enters the bloodstream. During the third and fourth week, the cumulative effect becomes something you can actually feel. Many seniors tell me that the first thing they noticed was that their mornings felt lighter. The fog that used to settle in by midday started arriving later, then less often, then not at all. They could follow conversations more easily. They could recall things from earlier in the day without straining. One person told me that after about 3 weeks, her daughter called and mentioned a conversation they had had 4 days earlier, and for the first time in months, she actually remembered it. Every detail. She said she almost dropped the phone because she had gotten so used to not remembering that remembering felt like a miracle. I want to be practical about the transition because I know processed meat is deeply embedded in the way most people over 60 eat. It is convenient. It is affordable. It requires no cooking. I am not asking you to throw everything out tomorrow and overhaul your kitchen. Start with one meal. Choose the meal where processed meat appears most often, usually lunch, and replace the deli meat with leftover roasted chicken or canned fish for 1 week. Just 1 week. Keep everything else the same. Pay attention to how you feel by the end of that week compared to the weeks before. Most people tell me the difference is noticeable enough to motivate them to make the second swap and the third, and eventually processed meat quietly disappears from their routine not because they forced it, but because they simply felt too good to go back. I need to be honest, as I always am. Processed meat is not the only thing affecting your gut health and brain clarity. Many factors contribute. What I am telling you is that for a surprising number of people over 60, reducing or eliminating processed meat turned out to be one of the most significant changes they ever made for their memory and mental sharpness. It was hiding in the most ordinary part of their meals, disguised as a reasonable protein source, and nobody ever questioned it. If this video has shifted something in the way you see your own plate, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. Every week, Dr. Margaret Whitmore explores a different connection between your gut and your brain after 60. We look at the foods, the habits, and the small daily choices that shape how clearly you think, how well you remember, and how fully you show up for the people you love. Everything is shared in plain, honest language because you deserve to understand your own body without needing anyone to translate. There are thousands of people in this community who have had their own version of this awakening, and when you subscribe, you join them. I promise you, this is a place built on genuine care, honesty, and warmth. I want to leave you with something that I hope follows you to the grocery store the next time you go. You are going to walk past the deli counter. You are going to see the same packages you always see. The ham, the turkey, the salami, the pre-sliced, pre-packaged, perfectly convenient meats that have been part of your meals for as long as you can remember. For the first time, you are going to see them differently. You are going to know what is inside them beyond the meat. The nitrates, the sodium, the preservatives, the chemical compounds that your gut was never built to handle. You are going to have a choice. The same choice you have had every week, but now with information you did not have before. Walk past them. Keep going. Find the fresh chicken, the canned fish, the simple whole cuts of meat that your gut can actually process without being damaged. That moment in the grocery aisle, that quiet, private decision that nobody else will see, is where your memory starts to come back. Not in a doctor's office. Not in a pharmacy. Between the deli counter and the fresh meat section, with a shopping cart and a choice. You are not too late. Your sharpest memories are not all behind you. There are new ones waiting to be formed, clearly and completely, and they begin with the very next meal you choose to make. Take that step. Your gut is ready to heal. Your brain is ready to respond. You are exactly on time.